It seems a little strange, but I just can't explain why I'm tearing out a page and then I'm sending it out over the ocean. And I've been feeling down lately ever since I met you, baby. People say I'm acting crazy. They say that I'm over emotional. Yeah, there's something wrong in my mind. Yeah, there's something wrong.
In my mind, yeah, there's something wrong.
Everybody says it's funny, but I can't say it seems very funny to me.
Love it.
People come and go, and I know now that you know. Just the noises in my throat say I'll take however long that it takes me. I can't understand why I need to be your man.
Nice.
I had the perfect plan.
Have the perfect plan.
Right now I guess it all escapes me.
Yeah, there's something wrong. Can't help it. It's catchy.
There's something wrong in my mind. There's something wrong. Well, everybody says it's funny, but I can't say it seems very funny to me.
Oh man, such good stuff. Hey you, what are you doing? BRADSUCKS, there's something wrong. If you'd like the URL to that, it is in the description. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be. Hey, let me start out by saying this. After being bitten by a radioactive bird, somewhat mannered Tuthill was possessed to become Kineas. Skydude. I need to change the title to actually reflect that and put the name up there, because I'm going to be doing Baldur's Gate again and other things. And I've got this, you know, I was a geek growing up and I played Dungeons and Dragons, right? So at one point I said, that's it. I'm creating one more character and that's it, man. I'm tired of creating characters. Well, I'm tired of killing characters too. And I think I've got enough experience now playing this dang game that I can create one more character and that's it. And that's the only character I want to play unless I have to play something else. And so, thus, Kineas was born. And I've used him for everything since the internet was even, became the internet. You know, before there was the World Wide Web, there were bulletin board systems. Let's start out here. I'm surprised as I was looking through Bushtalk earlier, how little information there is posted on, you know, like this. Like I was looking for the Spartan battle at Thermopylae. How is that not in there? Right? All those points of that we did on Alexander the Great, you know, a lot of those points just weren't in there. The route of Alexander isn't in there. And I've never taken the time to learn how to edit Bushtalk. And I'm kind of thinking that I should. And maybe we'll try doing that a little bit later today. I'd really like to figure out how to make an entry. And all you need to do is copy whatever's there's in Wikipedia and post it in there and submit it. And, you know, the female AI voice, whatever, creates the audio tour. Something like that. Anyway, we'll look into that. But let's start off we're in Greece. We landed here last night. Oh, man, I made a mistake with last night's show. I went too long. Went like 7 hours. And then because I played that Sinbad the Sailor, the Popeye cartoon from the United States National Archive, which was public domain, it created a copyright. And so it demonetized yesterday's live stream. Which is a real drag. Every penny counts. Anyway, we got to Greece last night, but then we didn't have any time since I was already at 7 hours. So we'll just pick it up tomorrow. So here we are, and we'll get to spend this afternoon running around the island. There are a couple of places, a couple of battles in there. There's some temples in there. Still, you know, I'm surprised that as long as it's been around, there just aren't points everywhere you move across the map in Greece.
The Ilissos or Ilissos is a river in Athens, Greece. Originally a tributary of the Kivissos, it has been rechanneled to the sea. Its name is in all probability pre-Greek. It features the ending sos, which it shares with many other toponyms in Attica and other rivers in Greece, all of which are considered linguistic substratum survivals. During antiquity, the river flowed outside the defensive walls of Athens. Plato wrote in Critias that the river was one of the borders of the ancient walls. Its banks were grassy and shaded by plane trees, and were considered idyllic in antiquity. They were the favored haunts
That has to be it there.
of walks and teaching. The Temple of Pancrates, a local hero, was located there, giving its name to the modern suburb of Pakrati. This area was named Kenorsaias in antiquity, and the spring of Kalero was located there. As urban Athens expanded during the 19th and early 20th centuries, the river became a source of pollution and was converted gradually into a rainwater runoff conduit, covered with streets that track its original, twisting route along the lay of the land. It is now largely channeled underground, though as of June 2019 there are plans to unearth the river. Together with the neighboring river Kivissos, it drains a catchment area of 420 kilometers squared.
That's great. I'm glad we got one right off the bat. Let me turn up use our superpower and move the sun so that we can see things better. The river wasn't jumping out when we first came in. I should have spawned in much lower. But we have a mile or, yeah. Came in real high. Let me go back to the main menu and show you how to spawn in at a lower altitude. I don't think we need to be that high up there. Okay. Keep changing the time. Silly thing. All right, you need to have at least an arrival and a departure and an arrival point set. Okay. Once you do that, change the time and time again. Get the sun up. Custom. Okay. So as long as you have a 2 point set up, okay, it'll default you, and it's defaulting us at 1,500 feet. And I think it spawned us in even higher on that last one. Click on navlog, and now we can edit how high we come in. So let's change that to, I don't know, 800 feet. Hopefully. I'm surprised. Although it is filled out and every square inch is built up, they still haven't built up like skyscrapers. So that's interesting to me, considering, you know, the hub of so much activity all the way back to BC, and whatever before BC. Okay. We might trigger that river one again. What is that? I'm not getting any menu options. Aha. Okay, so right here, yeah, my submissions. Landmarks. I did the United States Air Force Falcon Stadium, United States Air Force Academy, and Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs. Those are mine. Wow, I can't believe it remembered it. But I couldn't tell you what I did next to do. Well, right now, maybe it's on your. That's the only downside about the audio scene, the auto scene switcher. When I do want it to remain on a screen, like Bushtalk Radio, there's no way to pause it. And we need a way to pause it quickly. And if there is a way, I don't know. But we definitely need something like that. Because as soon as I click anywhere, it immediately runs back to the main screen. Well, I said I would get to it later. This seems awful high. This doesn't seem right at all. We're coming in. It's saying we're coming in at 14,000 feet. That's not right at all. Well, what happened there? That shouldn't have happened. Something that I've noticed while getting ready for the show, is that one of the things I was complaining about while doing the route of Alexander, as we went down from Macedonia all the way to India, Egypt to India, and how the names are constantly changing in that part of the world. They constantly change the names of everything. And so it makes finding things very difficult. It makes recording history very difficult. It makes arriving at certain conclusions very difficult. No. Still saying 1,500 feet here. Yeah, well, enough delaying. We need to get to it. I've wasted enough of your time. At least for a bit. You kicked that on earlier. I definitely need some different ones. If you are a musician or create music, yeah, you're a musician. If you are, and you post your clips and wouldn't care if I used some of those as bed music, that'd be really nice. Let me know. See if we can get down to 500 feet. Do a flight level change. Oh, there's the Acropolis at Athens right up ahead. So yeah, isn't it interesting? As opposed to most cities, big cities in the United States. It's interesting that they haven't gone up. Pardon any lag, I tried loading in high resolution maps to try to give you the absolute best experience I could give you. Man, look at the terrain.
500.
All right, so that's 500 feet. Come on, get back to the cockpit. All right, let's just turn off the autopilot for a moment. Again, pardon the lag and stutter. You'll be happy when I pause, though. Whoa. How dare I? Okay. All right. Like I said, you'll be happy when I pause. All right. Welcome to the Acropolis at Athens. That. Wonder what's under there, you know? How exciting. So to me, I mean, I'm glad we did Alexander, right? But so much of everything that our world is comes from right here. So much of everything in our daily lives, especially the parts that govern our daily lives, really started here. And it's a dang shame that it's had its trauma over the years to look like that now. And it's also a dang shame that, you know, I don't know, why not try to restore it? Must we leave it in ruins? I don't know. Figure out how to put a glass bubble over this thing. Yeah, I guess if you were a nobody, they'd probably make you come up through this way. Man, that'd be a haul. We're too fat these days. Imagine having to go to work. Where do you work? The Acropolis. Man, you must have calves of iron. Whoops. And, you know, were these niches for something? Or were they windows? Meaning, you know, there's structures under there. Could have been as you're going up, you know, like the daily menu. I mean, that's probably all it was. Today we're serving Sloppy Joe. Right? And this is like the current movie that's playing. Maybe it was movies, you know, or, you know, plays. But they had the theaters down out here. Oops. They love the theaters. There's another one over there. So maybe, yeah, signs for what was playing in Theater 1 and Theater 2. If you're visiting the Acropolis. Don't forget to check out Puke and Snot this week. Arena 2. Ah, there's a structure. Oops. Pardon me. Alright, so you could get into this one. Box office. Help desk. Some sort of overlooking office there. Another one over here. But why didn't they want that outer window? I've been like, man, you're putting me out here. I got the best office, and I don't get a window. Bro, come on, I don't get a window. Let me go ahead and pause the music for a moment. And in Bushtalk, play the Parthenon clip. It's the temple.
The Acropolis of Athens is an ancient citadel located on a rocky outcrop above the city of Athens and contains the remains of several ancient buildings of great architectural and historic significance, the most famous being the Parthenon. The word Acropolis is from the Greek words kappa rho omicron nu and pi lambda iota sigma. Although the term Acropolis is generic and there are many other Acropolis in Greece, the significance of the Acropolis of Athens is such that it is commonly known as the Acropolis without qualification. During ancient times it was known also more properly as Skropia, after the legendary serpent man, Cecrops, the supposed first Athenian king. While there is evidence that the hill was inhabited as far back as the 4th millennium BC, it was Pericles in the 5th century BC who coordinated the construction of the site's most important present remains, including the Parthenon, the Propylaea, the Erechtheion and the Temple of Athena Nike. The Parthenon and the other buildings were seriously damaged during the 1687 siege by the Venetians during the Mauryan War, when gunpowder being stored in the Parthenon by the Ottomans was hit by a cannonball and exploded.
Yeah, it gets me every time hearing that. Every single time I hear it, it gets me. I get so upset. It's like losing the library at Alexandria. It's one of those. What do you mean you put your gunpowder in it? I can't believe you allowed this to get blown up. You absolute schmucks. Absolute schmucks. But that's us throughout time, man. We're absolute schmucks. Especially when we get mad. It's interesting. I think when it first came out, I recall being here, but I don't recall the modern building there that they put up there for offices or whatever. All right, something about these pillars looking from the ground level. It's real subtle, and I don't know that it's going to be actually even done properly in what we're seeing here. But all the pillars, yeah, because this looks wrong. All the pillars lean inward so that hundreds of feet up in the air, they all converge on a point. The angle of the pillars all converge at a point up here, somewhere way up in the air. And although they're using real generic graphics to adorn the frieze on this, right? So you see some animals, butterflies, snake, whatever. And they just repeat the thing. This had histories carved into it, wars and histories, and some crazy things, real crazy things that show up in the frieze. I don't know what the proper term is for all of them collectively. One battle in particular that stands out is the battle between the Greeks and the centaurs. Now, they were all about realism, unlike Egypt, which was really into symbolism. Now, that's debatable anymore these days. Everything is up in the air. So we were taught that Egypt was just really into symbolism. And everything's about their hieroglyphics, so symbolism. And so humanoid figures will have animal heads and some people are like, no, man, they actually had creatures running around with animal heads. They were all about doing creepy genetic stuff, and there's potentially aliens involved the further we go back, and it's real weird. But the Greeks were, and especially the Romans, were more about portraying things realistically. Right? All their leaders are carved in stone. Everything's realistic. I mean, it's, you know, they're not messing around with animals and animal heads. But it's surprising, though, that with the Greeks on the frieze and some of these, yeah, there's battles with centaurs. It just has always baffled me. Like, well, why did they do that? With the armor that another race was wearing or another people were wearing, there's enough description, you know, in who or what people look like to have depicted a battle between another people rather than representing them as centaur. But no, they did. And yeah, that's crazy. But again, it's par for the course. The weirder it gets as we move through time, and they do more archaeology and more people put out their versions of the, you know, Sumerian tablet translations and all these tablet translations from these ancient cities. And it just gets stranger and more strange. I don't know. Is it stranger and stranger and stranger? Either way, it's crazy. The more you go back. In some of the weirdest stuff I've read, they're talking about how we arrived here. Well, we didn't. We were here, and they're not gods. Anybody that's shown up at this point, they're just a highly advanced race of beings come here to do some mining. But there was some creatures running around, as I understand, that they may have started modifying genetics to arrive at us. Something in one of the stories, like, you know, them trying to make us more like them so we could do the work for them. Take over operations. Like, aren't we messing with the Prime Directive? And they're like, we don't even know how we arrived on our planet. We don't understand how we were created. So, whatever. Okay. So, we didn't even touch on Solon. The rise of the Republic. The rise of the Republican form of government. Just something really quickly these days, because the word democracy is thrown around. And this is purely academic. I don't want this to be controversial. It just is. Based on history, the form of government that has brought the most growth and prosperity to the most people across time has been the Republican form of government. Okay. Republics, eventually, all nations have eventually declined. And what usually brings about the decline is a fall into democracy. Now, there's still pros and cons. I'm not saying it's completely bad. But when you move away completely from a Republican form of government and go into democracy, there's never been turnarounds where they're able to recover their empires or nations or whatever. Because then democracies devolve into anarchy naturally. And that usually is what causes your collapse. You can't restore. You have to, it happens, and then eventually it returns possibly to a Republican form of government, and the cycle starts over and over again. And that's where we're at today. people are out there saying, please, folks, realize that when we started our country, we're a Republican form of government, because they our founding fathers spending all this time learning from nations like this, from Solon the Great and other great statespeople throughout time. And so when we wanted to form our government here in the United States, it's let's look at every government that's existed on the planet and what's done the best, and what will allow us to be prosperous and provide the best for everybody. And so they chose the Republican form of government. Everybody's out there screaming about my democracy today, and you got to be very careful. Everybody's running around claiming that they're highly intelligent, but yet nobody seems to understand. You would think that collectively every American citizen would be screaming, oh my God, we're in a democracy. Do you realize how dangerous that is for our country? What we've been able to do since our inception because we adopted the Republican form of government right off the bat. Look at ancient Greece, folks. Look at their development. Maybe it's by design that they chose not to, completely create skyscrapers and everything. Maybe they wanted to leave things the way that they are. I don't know. Some of these buildings are big, but again, we're not talking like New York City and the levels of advancement that we've been able to create. If you fly all over the world, not a whole lot of places that seem to be up with us in the future, but then some people seem to be leaving us behind. And again, we're going through kind of a decline. How are we being left behind? It doesn't make sense. All right, so that's my advice today, is to think about that. Think about our government. What's the governments that have done the best for the people? This place here being so important to us in the Western world. All right, let's head north to Marathon. There's an Acropolis of Athens down here. Over here across the street.
The Temple of Olympian Zeus, also known as the Olympiane or Columns of the Olympian Zeus, is a former colossal temple at the center of the Greek capital Athens. It was dedicated to Olympian Zeus, a name originating from his position as head of the Olympian gods. Construction began in the 6th century BC during the rule of the Athenian tyrants, who envisaged building the greatest temple in the ancient world, but it was not completed until the reign of the Roman Emperor Hadrian in the 2nd century AD, some 638 years after the project had begun. During the Roman period, the temple, which included 104 colossal columns, was renowned as the largest temple in Greece and housed one of the largest cult statues in the ancient world. The temple's glory was short-lived, as it fell into disuse after being pillaged during a barbarian invasion in 267 AD, just about a century after its completion. It was probably never repaired and was reduced to ruins thereafter. In the centuries after the fall of the Roman Empire, it was extensively quarried for building materials to supply building projects elsewhere in the city. Despite that, a substantial part of the temple remains today, notably 16 of the original gigantic columns, and it continues to be part of a very important archaeological site of Greece.
So it's all been, that's the one I think that took 500 years to build. Sorry, it's hard getting my plane right over some of these spots. Yeah, that's a real shame that something could have taken 500 years to build and just destroyed and dismantled A lot of these places. All right, Hans and Henning are playing War Thunder today. Well, that's cool. Okay, Marathon. Battle of Marathon is... Well, let's see what's over here.
The Church of St. Panteleimon of Akarnai is a Greek Orthodox basilica in the center of Athens. It has a maximum length of 63 meters and width 48 meters, and it is the biggest church of Greece. The church is in the downtown of the modern city of Athens, close to the high traffic. The foundations of the church were laid on the 12th of September 1910 by King George I of Greece, and it was consecrated on the 22nd of June 1930. The church's interior paintings were created by the painter Giannis Carouzos. It took him 23 years to complete the painting of the 6,000 square meters surface of the interior walls of the church.
I'm trying to get to that location right now. This has been a fun tool to use. It was neat. I'm just thinking about when we were traveling around the United States, we found the Breaking Bad house. With this tool.
The Church of St. Panteleimon of Akarnai is a Greek Orthodox basilica in the center of Athens. It has a maximum length of 63 meters and width 48 meters, and it is the biggest church of Greece. The church is in the downtown of the modern city of
That's what we get?
close to the high traffic.
Just a ground shot?
The foundations of the church were laid on the 12th of September 1910 by King George I of Greece, and it was consecrated on the 22nd of June 1930. The church's interior paintings were created by the painter Giannis Carouzos. It took him 23 years to complete the painting of the 6,000 square meters surface of the interior walls of the church.
Yeah, so unfortunately in Microsoft Flight Simulator we don't get that. All right, what's next? The Athens Olympic Sport Complex. About 30 degrees from our nose. Oh, nice. Their football field? Nice. All right, we'll be at the site in just 1 minute. Wow.
The Olympic Athletic Center of Athens Spiros Louis or Oaka is a sport facilities complex located at Marousi, northeast Athens, Greece. The complex consists of 5 major venues as well as other supplementary sport facilities. The Olympic Athletic Center of Athens has hosted the Mediterranean Games in 1991, the World Championship in Athletics in 1997, as well as other important athletic and cultural events. The most significant event the Athens Olympic Sports Complex has hosted was the Olympic Games.
You know, it's been interesting in the modern world that the Olympic Games, they bid on it and it goes to different host countries, but everybody talks about Greece being poor. And that may be. And historically speaking about the Western world, why they haven't committed to allowing the Olympics to always be in Greece. To me, it's a shame. They created the Olympics. The Olympics should always be in Greece, and they should always have that money coming in, at least that. And yeah, for the winter games, sure, but even there's got to be, where's Mount Olympus, right? They've got to have some snowy mountains in Greece somewhere. So if it was me in charge of things, if I was the ruler of this planet, absolutely, the Olympics would only be in Greece. That's it. Non-negotiable. I mean, unless you just really, really have a better explanation or reasoning. Okay. All right, so there's the Battle of Marathon. All right, and that's where the term marathon comes from, is this jaunt. It was from Marathon to Athens, I think. You had to be a runner and move information around. So they've always had runners all the way back in ancient times. And the marathon is from here to Marathon. Okay, so make sure that we're going the right direction. Put a little gas in. What the hell just happened? Baldur's Gate just launched? No wonder things are freaking out. That's weird. Hang on a second. Baldur's Gate just launched. I need to make sure this thing shuts down. How weird. I don't know how I did that. Managed to do that. All right, so from the Acropolis back there, and where I'm flying, the direction I'm flying, it's going to be a little jaunt. Let me show you where we're going. Our aircraft is right here, the blue arrow, and you can see it moving. And we're going up to the orange dot above us, about 45 degrees. So from Athens running that distance, there's another pilot in the air. All right, let's see if we can set the autopilot again. Right, autopilot. And let's go into heading mode. Click the heading bug. Center us up. And do a heading select. As I fly us into a mountain. Light level change. And a heading change. All right, close enough.
$500.
So yeah, a good place for battles because the large playing field. See what I mean? Large flat area. Again, isn't it amazing? We're at the site of ancient Marathon, where crap has been going on since history started, and traffic has been moving around here, and it looks like it did.
Took place in 490 BC during the first Persian invasion of Greece. It was fought between the citizens of Athens, aided by Plataea, and a Persian force commanded by Datis and Artaphernes. The battle was the culmination of the first attempt by Persia, under King Darius I, to subjugate Greece. The Greek army decisively defeated the more numerous Persians, marking a turning point in the Greco-Persian Wars. At the time of the battle, Sparta and Athens were the two largest city-states in Greece. Once the Ionian revolt was finally crushed by the Persian victory at the Battle of Lade in 494 BC, Darius began plans to subjugate Greece. In 490 BC, he sent a naval task force under Datis and Artaphernes across the Aegean, to subjugate the Cyclades, and then to make punitive attacks on Athens and Eretria. Reaching Evia in midsummer after a successful campaign in the Aegean, the Persians proceeded to besiege and capture Eretria. The Persian force then sailed for Attica, landing in the bay near the town of Marathon. The Athenians, joined by a small force from Plataea, marched to Marathon, and succeeded in blocking the two exits from the plain of Marathon. The Athenians and their allies chose a location for the battle, with marshes and mountainous terrain, that prevented the Persian cavalry from joining the Persian infantry. Miltiades, the Athenian general, ordered a general attack against the Persian forces, composed primarily of missile troops. He reinforced his flanks, luring the Persians' best fighters into his center. The inward-wheeling flanks enveloped the Persians, routing them. The Persian army broke in panic towards their ships, and large numbers were slaughtered. The defeat at Marathon marked the end of the first Persian invasion of Greece, and the Persian force retreated to Asia. Darius then began raising a huge new army with which he meant to completely subjugate Greece. However, in 486 BC, his Egyptian subjects revolted, indefinitely postponing any Greek expedition. After Darius died, his son Xerxes I restarted the preparations for a second invasion of Greece, which finally began in 480 BC. The Battle of Marathon was a watershed in the Greco-Persian Wars, showing the Greeks that the Persians could be beaten. The eventual Greek triumph in these wars can be seen to have begun at Marathon. The battle also showed the Greeks that they were able to win battles without the Spartans, as they had heavily relied on Sparta previously. This victory was largely due to the Athenians, and Marathon raised Greek esteem of them. The following 200 years saw the rise of the classical Greek civilization, which has been enduringly influential in Western society, and so the Battle of Marathon is often seen as a pivotal moment in Mediterranean and European history.
Yeah. Yes. And they haven't quit. It's still going on. And they keep trying, and they're doing pretty well, to be honest. Or so it seems. And, you know, we have to understand. We have to understand. I'm sorry if this is controversial in any way. But history is. I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to point out, up till today, these movements to dominate countries hasn't stopped. It's the same people from the same places doing the exact same things. Trying it a different way this time and a different way this time. And all right. So they did talk about Sparta. So going back to Bushtalk real quick. I don't, there we go. So that's really as far north as we need to go. I guess we can come back to that. Let's sweep around here. Yeah, and let's do the Battle of Salamis. And then we'll come along here and we'll make our way down to Sparta. Well, that's what I was saying. In as we were traveling and doing the route of Alexander, the names are they changed so much that it made things really difficult. Now, Sparta is still Sparta, right? So if you come down here, if we had an English map, it's still Sparta. Marathon is still Marathon. Athens is still Athens. Every place in those Middle Eastern, every one of them, all their names changed over and over. Every country, every territory, every city, every village has had its name changed over and over and over again. And it's maddening. There's something to be learned in that too, is you can't sometimes arrive at a truthful conclusion about something, or as truthful as you can get, unless you know all the names, you know, if you can get past all the name changes to discover, oh, okay, it was this person. It's crazy crap. Okay, back to the cockpit. Use our heading bug. Let's go ahead and adjust it now. Probably about right. Southwest. That must have been a good moment for them, feeling pretty good, but they ended up getting in fights with Sparta later, didn't they? Civil wars, man. Letting things to devolve into democracies and then anarchy. Probably should get some more altitude. Come on. Climb. All right, do vertical speed. I bet you could walk anywhere with a metal detector and find something. And any digging that you do, you're going to find something. How could you not? It's been here so long. Do an altitude hold. Few degrees off. I have the the coordinates for the Battle of Thermopylae. So once we get down to the Spartans, we can go from Sparta to that point. And I wonder if there's a way to make Google narrate or Wiki narrate. Talk. There is. Right? This is the talk page. Oh no. That's not what I wanted. I thought it would talk to us and read it. So they are working on a wiki spoken project. Wikimedia aims to produce recordings of Wikipedia articles being read aloud, and it should already be doing it.
For other battles at Thermopylae, see Battle of
Oh, you can.
Ambiguation. 300 Spartans redirects here.
All right. That's cool. Welcome to Greece, welcome to Greece. Flying back over the Acropolis. You can see it down there. Then Greece wraps around over that side into that landmass over yonder. So the whole point of Alexander the Great is they were considered barbarians by the Greeks in a lot of ways. You know, they were country folk. They were all country folk. Right? So when these early battles took place between the Persians, Philip of Macedonia ended up rising to prominence for helping them defeat the Persians. And I don't know which battles. But then he ended up pretty much ruling all of Greece. Whether, you know, whether he engaged them in civil war or whatever, but that's the way I understand it. And So he and Alexander were pretty much, after Philip died, Alexander was pretty much in charge. So the whole point of going south into Asia Minor was to avenge the Greeks. That is a beautiful set of structures down there in the water. And to get revenge for the Greeks for all the conquest that the Persians had done, pushing up, taking everything that the Greeks had previously owned and other peoples owned in the area. The Persians took it all, dominated everything. So that's why a lot of people just let Alexander come right in so that they could kick out the Persians and go back to, they always say, democratic rule. Le crap. Oh, I was supposed to turn west. I have to turn a little bit more.
The port of Piraeus is the chief seaport of Piraeus, located on the Saronic Gulf on the western coasts of the Aegean Sea, the largest port in Greece and one of the largest in Europe. The Chinese state-owned COSCO Shipping operate the port.
What?
The port of Piraeus served as the port of Athens since ancient times with about 18.
And then the Chinese are running things?
Was the busiest passenger port in Europe in 2014.
That's what we get for not having the Olympics in Greece every 4 years.
Rapidly. Piraeus handled 5.65 million TEUs in 2019 according to Lloyd's list for top 100 container ports in 2015. Piraeus ranked 8th in Europe and 3rd the Mediterranean Sea. The port of Piraeus was expected to become the busiest port of the Mediterranean in terms of container traffic by 2019. Piraeus handled 4.9 million TEUs in 2018, an increase of 19.4% compared with 2017, climbing to the number 2 position of all Mediterranean ports. As of April 2016, the port ranks 39th globally in terms of container capacity. In 2007, the port of Piraeus handled 20,121,916 tons of cargo and 1,373,138 TEUs, making it the busiest cargo port in Greece and the largest container port in the country and the East Mediterranean Sea basin.
Okay, now this thing is coming up right underneath us.
Scytlia is an uninhabited island in the Saronic Gulf between the harbour of Piraeus and the Kynossora Peninsula on Salamis Island, Greece. It covers an area of 0.375 square kilometres. The island houses the largest sewage treatment plant in Europe, with a projected daily maximum drying capacity of 750 tonnes of sewage. Administratively, it is part of the municipality of Piraeus. Since the 1990s, the Saronic Gulf was starting to become polluted by industrial and residential sewage from Athens. In order to protect the ecosystem and due to considerations for negative implications on tourism, a sewage treatment plant was installed on the island, which started operation on November 1994. This included the primary treatment, which prevents the waste from entering the sea, but did not provide a permanent solution for the resulting sludge. Temporary solutions of exporting the sludge and of neutralizing it through oxidization proved insufficient over the years. On June 1, 2007, the sludge treatment plant was put into operation, with 2 production lines of a total waste drying capacity of 500 tons per day. Another 2 production lines started operation a month later, raising the total capacity to more than 750 tons per day. It is estimated that the remaining sludge of 150,000 to 160,000 tons that was accumulated on the island over the years when only the primary treatment was active, would be converted to biofuel in the first 6 months of operation, and used in industry, especially in cement kilns and electricity power plants. On October 5, 2007, Environment Vice Minister Themistokles Xantopoulos announced that there would be no sludge left in the following 5 months, and that auditors, such as the European Court of Auditors, had approved the quality of the plant.
Well, that's good. So, they're talking about dried matter and sludge. So they're taking poop and turning it into bricks to use in kilns. Did you get the same thing that I did? That's what it sounded like to me. That they convert it. She said they convert it to like dried matter. Well, what are you converting? It's poop. And then they're like the sludge, cleaning out all the sludge and getting that dried. That's what it sounds like she's saying to me. Okay, just in front of us here, the next marker. It's actually the point out in the water in here. Battle of Salami.
The Battle of Salamis was a naval battle fought between an alliance of Greek city-states under Themistocles and the Persian Empire under King Xerxes in 480 BC. It resulted in a decisive victory for the outnumbered Greeks. The battle was fought in the straits between the mainland and Salamis, an island in the Saronic Gulf near Athens, and marked the high point of the Second Persian invasion of Greece. To block the Persian advance, a small force of Greeks blocked the pass of Thermopylae, while an Athenian-dominated allied navy engaged the Persian fleet in the nearby straits of Artemisium. In the resulting Battle of Thermopylae, the rearguard of the Greek force was annihilated, whilst in the Battle of Artemisium the Greeks had heavy losses and retreated after the loss at Thermopylae. This allowed the Persians to conquer Phocis, Boeotia, Attica, and Evia. The Allies prepared to defend the Isthmus of Corinth while the fleet was withdrawn to nearby Salamis Island. Although heavily outnumbered, the Greek allies were persuaded by the Athenian general Themistocles to bring the Persian fleet to battle again, in the hope that a victory would prevent naval operations against the Peloponnese. The Persian king Xerxes was also eager for a decisive battle. As a result of subterfuge on the part of Themistocles, the Persian navy rode into the Straits of Salamis and tried to block both entrances. In the cramped conditions of the straits, the great Persian numbers were an active hindrance, as ships struggled to maneuver and became disorganized. Seizing the opportunity, the Greek fleet formed in line and scored a decisive victory. Xerxes retreated to Asia with much of his army, leaving Mardonius to complete the conquest of Greece. However, the following year, the remainder of the Persian army was decisively beaten at the Battle of Plataea and the Persian navy at the Battle of Mycale. The Persians made no further attempts to conquer the Greek mainland. These battles of Salamis and Plataea thus mark a turning point in the course of the Greco-Persian wars as a whole. From then onward, the Greek polis would take the offensive.
Far out. Now, if I understand correctly, where we're headed, this is Thermopylae. Let's see. Yeah, because Sparta's down here. So I think the Spartans marched up here and then held them over here, because this was the only way through, or this way here. I'm not 100% certain. We'll have to... All right, so this island here, this is just the audio for the island.
Salamis is the largest Greek island in the Saronic Gulf, about 2 kilometers off coast from Piraeus and about 16 kilometers west of central Athens. The chief city, Salamina, lies in the west-facing core of the crescent on Salamis Bay, which opens into the Saronic Gulf. On the eastern side of the island is its main port, Pelukia, in size second in Greece only to Piraeus, the port of Athens. Salamis has an area of 93 square kilometers. Its highest point is Mavravauni at 404 meters. A significant part of Salamis Island is rocky and mountainous. On the southern part of the island a pine forest is located, which is unusual for Western Attica. While the inland inhabitants are mainly employed within the agricultural sector, the majority of Salamis inhabitants work in maritime occupations, fishing, ferries, and the island's shipyards, or commute to work in Athens. Salamis Island is very popular for holiday and weekend visits from Athens mainland. Its population rises to 300,000 in peak season, of which circa 31,000 are permanent inhabitants. The traditional etymology of Salamis derives it from the eponymous nymph Salamis, the mother of Cycreus, the legendary first king of the island. Salamis was probably first colonized by Aegina and later occupied by Megara, but became an Athenian possession in the time of Solon or Pisistratos, following the war between Athens and Megara around 600 BC. According to Strabo, the ancient capital was at the south of the island. In classical times it was to the east, on the Kamatiro Peninsula overlooking the Strait of Salamis. In modern times it is on the west. According to Homer's Iliad, Salamis took part in the Trojan War with 12 ships under the leadership of Ajax. Salamis Island is known for the Battle of Salamis, the decisive naval victory of the allied Greek fleet, led by Themistocles, over the Persian Empire in 480 BC. It is said to be the birthplace of Ajax and Euripides, the latter's birth being popularly placed on the day of the battle. In modern times, it is home to Salamis Naval Base, headquarters for the Hellenic Navy. The oldest known counting board was discovered on Salamis Island in 1899. It is thought to have been used by the Babylonians in about 300 BC as more of a gaming board rather than a calculating device. It is marble, about 150 centimeters by 75 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters, and has carved Greek symbols and parallel grooves. During the German invasion of Greece in World War II, the harbour was bombed by the Luftwaffe on April 23, 1941, sinking the Greek battleships Kilkis and Lemnos.
Well, that is fascinating. Oh, don't freeze on me. Oh, you think? This was working so splendidly the other day. No problems at all. And now it doesn't want to. And it's frozen the simulator. Oh, well, we needed to take a break anyway, I suppose. We'll have to restart the thing. Yeah, I'm frozen. I'll give it another 30 seconds or so to see if it figures itself out. If not, break time. I really want to see where the Battle of Thermopylae was exactly. So I haven't, because it seems to me if he came through here, I wonder if I don't know where he was catching him. It's a major pinch point. Okay, so she's not responding. Task manager, simulator. All right, trying to fire it back up. Today, the song of the day, we've heard this one recently, but everything else seemed a little too heavy, rocker for my brain starting out today. So I just went with There's Something Wrong. So take 5, grab a drink, Smoke if you got him, and I'll see you in about 3 or 4 minutes.
It seems a little strange, but I just can't explain why I'm tearing out a page and then I'm sending it out over the ocean. And I've been feeling down lately ever since I met you,
Baby,
people say I'm
acting crazy. They say that I'm over emotional. There's something wrong. In my mind, yeah, there's something wrong. Yeah. Everybody says it's funny, but it seems very funny to me. I can't say it seems very funny to me. Oh, I love it. He's definitely figured out how to make them catchy where you want to sing along. All right, so if I got this right, this is the exact location for the Battle of Thermopylae. So let's spawn in here. Thanks for tuning in. It's 2:27 in the afternoon. This is Kineas. And this is, episode 144? And we're exploring Greece today. Okay, let's use our superpowers. And move the sun. I don't know why it won't stick. Let's not go spinning right off the bat. Go up and have a look. So figure out where we are in relation to where we just were. Well, you know, it's like places where you're seeing him driving him off the cliffs. It's like, where was that? You know, where were those activities? Because I don't really see much of that going on, like right against the coast. Maybe way out there. Maybe this is the whole staging area where they stopped him. Okay.
Top. Sources. Background.
No, not that.
Battles at Thermopylae. See Battle of Thermopylae. Disambiguation. 300 Spartans redirects here. For the 1962 film, see the 300 Spartans. Battle of Thermopylae. Part of the Greco-Persian Wars.
Okay. All right, let's see.
10 days, including 3
Blah, blah,
direct
blah.
battle. Before their rear guard,
Stop.
he
Stop. See if you highlight stuff.
The Battle of Thermopylae /Thedarmpli/THRMPILE, Greek, Mugaida Taunu Thate Epsilon Rome Yomicron Upsilon Lambda Nu,
What?
Shea Ton Thermopylon, was fought in 480 BC between the Achaemenid Persian Empire under Xerxes I and an alliance of Greek city-states led by Sparta under Leonidas I, lasting over the course of 3 days. It was one of the most prominent battles of both the Second Persian invasion of Greece and the wider Greco-Persian Wars. The engagement at Thermopylae occurred simultaneously with the naval battle of Artemisium between July and September 480 BC. The Second Persian invasion under Xerxes I was a delayed response to the failure of the First Persian invasion, which had been initiated by Darius I and ended in 490 BC by an Athenian-led Greek victory at the Battle of Marathon. By 480 BC, a decade after the Persian defeat at Marathon, Xerxes had amassed a massive land and naval force and subsequently set out to conquer all of Greece. In response, the Athenian politician and General Themistocles proposed that the allied Greeks block the advance of the Persian army at the Pass of Thermopylae while simultaneously blocking the Persian navy at the Straits of Artemisium. Around the start of the invasion, a Greek force of approximately 7,000 men led by Leonidas marched north to block the Pass of Thermopylae. Ancient authors vastly inflated the size of the Persian army, with estimates in the millions, but modern scholars estimate it at between 120,000 and 300,000 soldiers. They arrived at Thermopylae by late August or early September. The outnumbered Greeks held them off for 7 days, including 3 of direct battle, before their rearguard was annihilated in one of history's most famous last stands. During 2 full days of battle, the Greeks blocked the only road by which the massive Persian army could traverse the narrow pass. After the second day, a local resident named Ephialtes revealed to the Persians the existence of a path leading behind the Greek lines. Subsequently, Leonidas, aware that his force was being outflanked by the Persians, dismissed the bulk of the Greek army and remained to guard their retreat along with 300 Spartans and 700 Thespians. It has been reported that others also remained, including up to 900 Helots and 400 Thebans. With the exception of the Thebans, most of whom reportedly surrendered, the Greeks fought the Persians to the death, 13. Themistocles was in command of the Greek naval force at Artemisium when he received news that the Persians had taken the pass at Thermopylae. Since the Greek defensive strategy had required both Thermopylae and Artemisium to be held, the decision was made to withdraw to the island of Salamis. The Persians overran Boeotia and then captured the evacuated city of Athens. The Greek fleet, seeking a decisive victory over the Persian armada, attacked and defeated the invading force at the Battle of Salamis in late 480 BC. Wary of being trapped in Europe, Xerxes withdrew with much of his army to Asia, reportedly losing many of his troops to starvation and disease while also leaving behind the Persian military commander Mardonius to continue the Achaemenid Empire's Greek campaign. However, the following year saw a Greek army decisively defeat Mardonius and his troops at the Battle of Plataea, ending the Second Persian invasion. Both ancient and modern writers have used the Battle of Thermopylae as a flagship example of the power of an army defending its native soil. The performance of the Greek defenders is also used as an example of the advantages of training, equipment, and use of terrain as force multipliers. Sources: edit. Main article: Herodotus. The primary source for the Greco-Persian Wars is the Greek historian Herodotus. The Sicilian historian Diodorus Siculus, writing in the 1st century BC in his Bibliotheca Historica, also provides an account of the Greco-Persian Wars, partially derived from the earlier Greek historian Ephraim. Diodorus is fairly consistent with Herodotus' writings. 14. These wars are also described in less detail by a number of other ancient historians, including Plutarch, Ctesias of Cnidus, and are referred to by other authors, as by Aeschylus and the Persians. Archaeological evidence, such as the Serpent Column, now in the Hippodrome of Constantinople, also supports some of Herodotus' specific reports. 15. George B. Grundy was the first modern historian to do a thorough topographical survey of Thermopylae, and led some modern writers, such as Liddell Hart, to revise their views of certain aspects of the battle. 16. 17. Grundy also explored Plataea and wrote a treatise on that battle. 18. On the Battle of Thermopylae itself, two principal sources, Herodotus and Simonides' accounts, survive. 19. Herodotus' account in Book 7 of his histories is such an important source that Paul Cartledge wrote, "We either write a history of Thermopylae with Herodotus or not at all." 20. Also surviving is an epitome of the account of Ctesias by the 8th century Byzantine Photios, though this is almost worse than useless, 21. Missing key events in the battle such as the betrayal of Ephialtes and the account of Diodorus Siculus in his Universal History. Diodorus' account seems to have been based on that of Ephraim and contains one significant deviation from Herodotus' account, a supposed night attack against the Persian camp, of which modern scholars have tended to be skeptical. 22, 23. Background, edit. Main articles: Greco-Persian Wars and Second Persian Invasion of Greece. Map of Greece during the Persian Wars from the Ionian Revolt. The city-states of Athens and Eretria had aided the unsuccessful Ionian Revolt against the Persian Empire of Darius I in 499 to 494 BC. The Persian Empire was still relatively young and prone to revolts amongst its subject peoples. 24, 25. Darius, moreover, was a usurper and had spent considerable time extinguishing revolts against his rule. 24. The Ionian Revolt threatened the integrity of his empire, and Darius thus vowed to punish those involved, especially the Athenians, since he was sure that the Ionians would not go unpunished for their rebellion. 26. Darius also saw the opportunity to expand his empire into the fractious world of ancient Greece. 27. A preliminary expedition under Mardonius in 492 BC secured the lands approaching Greece, reconquered Thrace, and forced Macedon to become a client kingdom of Persia. 28. The Spartans throw Persian envoys into a well. Darius sent emissaries to all the Greek city-states in 491 BC asking for a gift of earth and water as tokens of their submission to him, 29, having had a demonstration of his power the previous year. The majority of Greek cities duly obliged. In Athens, however, the ambassadors were put on trial and then executed by throwing them in a pit. In Sparta, they were simply thrown down a well, 29-30. This meant that Sparta was also effectively at war with Persia, 29, however. In order to appease the Persian king somewhat, 2 Spartans were voluntarily sent to Susa for execution, in atonement for the death of the Persian heralds, 31. Darius then launched an amphibious expeditionary force under Datis and Artaphernes in 490 BC, which attacked Naxos before receiving the submission of the other Cycladic islands. It then besieged and destroyed Eretria, 32. Finally, it moved to attack Athens, landing at the Bay of Marathon, where it was met by a heavily outnumbered Athenian army. At the ensuing Battle of Marathon, the Athenians won a remarkable victory, which resulted in the withdrawal of the Persian army to Asia, 33. The site of the battle today, Mount Calidramon on the left, and the wide coastal plain formed by accretion of fluvial deposits over the centuries. The road to the right approximates the 480 BC shoreline. At this, Darius began raising a huge new army with which to completely subjugate Greece. However, in 486 BC, his Egyptian province revolted, indefinitely postponing any Greek expedition, 25. Darius died while preparing to march on Egypt, and the throne of Persia passed to his son Xerxes I, 34. Xerxes crushed the Egyptian revolt and quickly restarted preparations for the invasion of Greece, 35. No mere expedition. This was to be a full-scale invasion supported by long-term planning, stockpiling, and conscription, 35. Xerxes directed that the Hellespont be bridged to allow his army to cross to Europe, and that a canal be dug across the isthmus of Mount Athos, cutting short the route where a Persian fleet had been destroyed in 492 BC. 36. These were both feats of exceptional ambition beyond any other contemporary state. 36. By early 480 BC, the preparations were complete, and the army which Xerxes had mustered at Sardis marched towards Europe, crossing the Hellespont on 2 pontoon bridges.
She sounds so happy.
According to Herodotus, Xerxes' army was so large that, upon arriving at the banks of the Achidarus River, his soldiers proceeded to drink it dry. In the face of such imposing numbers, many Greek cities capitulated to the Persian demand for a tribute of earth and water, 38. The Athenians had also been preparing for war with the Persians since the mid-480s BC, and in 482 BC the decision was taken, under the strategic guidance of the Athenian politician Themistocles, to build a massive fleet of triremes to resist the Persians. 39. However, the Athenians lacked the manpower to fight on both land and sea, requiring reinforcements from other Greek city-states. In 481 BC, Xerxes sent ambassadors around Greece requesting earth and water, but very deliberately omitting Athens and Sparta. 40. Support thus began to coalesce around these 2 leading cities. A congress met at Corinth in late autumn of 481 BC, 41, and a confederate alliance of Greek city-states was formed. It had the power to send envoys to request assistance and dispatch troops from the member states to defensive points after joint consultation. This was remarkable for the disjointed and chaotic Greek world, especially since many of the supposed allies were still technically at war with each other. 42. The Congress met again in the spring of 480 BC. A Thessalian delegation suggested that the Greeks could muster in the narrow vale of Tempe on the borders of Thessaly and thereby block Xerxes' advance. 43. A force of 10,000 hoplites was dispatched to the Vale of Tempe, through which they believed the Persian army would have to pass. However, once there, being warned by Alexander I of Macedon that the Vale could be bypassed through Sarantaporo Pass and that Xerxes' army was overwhelming, the Greeks retreated. 44. Shortly afterwards, they received the news that Xerxes had crossed the Hellespont. 43. Themistocles, therefore, suggested a second strategy to the Greeks, the route to southern Greece. Boeotia, Attica, and the Peloponnesus would require Xerxes' army to travel through the very narrow pass of Thermopylae, which could easily be blocked by the Greek hoplites, jamming up the overwhelming force of Persians. 45. Furthermore, to prevent the Persians from bypassing Thermopylae by sea, the Athenian and allied navies could block the Straits of Artemisium. Congress adopted this dual-pronged strategy. 45. However, in case of Persian breakthrough, the Peloponnesian cities made fallback plans to defend the Isthmus of Corinth, while the women and children of Athens would evacuate en masse to the Peloponnesian city of Treason. 46. Prelude, edit. Map showing Greek and Persian advances to Thermopylae and Artemisium. The Persian army seems to have made slow progress through Thrace and Macedon. News of the imminent Persian approach eventually reached Greece in August thanks to a Greek spy. 47. At this time of the year, the Spartans, de facto military leaders of the alliance, were celebrating the festival of Carnea. During the Carnea, military activity was forbidden by Spartan law. The Spartans had arrived too late at the Battle of Marathon because of this requirement. 48. It was also the time of the Olympic Games, and therefore the Olympic truce, and thus it would have been doubly sacrilegious for the whole Spartan army to march to war. 48. 49. On this occasion, the ephors decided the urgency was sufficiently great to justify an advance expedition to block the pass, under one of its kings, Leonidas I. Leonidas took with him the 300 men of the royal bodyguard, the Hippias. 50. This expedition was to try to gather as many other Greek soldiers along the way as possible and to await the arrival of the main Spartan army. 49. The legend of Thermopylae, as told by Herodotus, has it that the Spartans had consulted the oracle at Delphi earlier in the year. The oracle is said to have made the following prophecy. O ye men who dwell in the streets of broad Lacedaemon, either your glorious town shall be sacked by the children of Perseus, or, in exchange, must all through the whole Laconian country mourn for the loss of a king, descendant of great Heracles. 51. Herodotus tells us that Leonidas, in line with the prophecy, was convinced he was going to certain death since his forces were not adequate for a victory, and so he selected only Spartans with living sons. 50. The Spartan force was reinforced en route to Thermopylae by contingents from various cities and numbered more than 7,000 by the time it arrived at the pass. 52. Leonidas chose to camp at and defend the Middle Gate, the narrowest part of the pass of Thermopylae, where the Phocians had built a defensive wall some time before. 53. News also reached Leonidas from the nearby city of Trachis that there was a mountain track that could be used to outflank the pass of Thermopylae. Leonidas stationed 1,000 Phocians on the heights to prevent such a maneuver. 54. Finally, in mid-August, the Persian army was sighted across the Malian Gulf approaching Thermopylae. 55. With the Persian army's arrival at Thermopylae, the Greeks held a council of war. 56. Some Peloponnesians suggested withdrawal to the Isthmus of Corinth and blocking the passage to Peloponnesus. 56. The Phocians and Locrians, whose states were located nearby, became indignant and advised defending Thermopylae and sending for more help. Leonidas calmed the panic and agreed to defend Thermopylae. 56. According to Plutarch, when one of the soldiers complained that, because of the arrows of the barbarians, it is impossible to see the sun, Leonidas replied, "Won't it be nice, then, if we shall have shade in which to fight them?" 57. Herodotus reports a similar comment, but attributes it to Dionysus. 58. Xerxes sent a Persian emissary to negotiate with Leonidas. The Greeks were offered their freedom, the title, friends of the Persian people, and the opportunity to resettle on land better than that they possessed. 59. When Leonidas refused these terms, the ambassador carried a written message by Xerxes, asking him to hand over your arms. Leonidas' famous response to the Persians was Moln Lab, Omicron Lambda Nu Lambda Alpha Beta, literally, having come, take them, but usually translated as come and take them. 60. With the Persian emissary returning empty-handed, battle became inevitable. Xerxes delayed for 4 days, waiting for the Greeks to disperse before sending troops to attack them. 61. Opposing forces, edit. Persian army, edit. For a full discussion of the size of the Persian invasion force, see edit.
Okay, so everything that we've just passed through, the Spartans had to come up through here, and I had it way wrong mentally where this was taking place. So if we go back to Bushtalk real quick, we are way up north. Okay, so when we left Athens today, I thought the Battle of Thermopylae was over here. Sparta's way down here. Okay, so the Spartans marched all the way up, past all this. There's the Salamis Island stuff, Salami. Here's Athens and the Acropolis. Marathon is way out here. And Thermopylae's way up here. So where Xerxes came from, if he came from up here, around, it doesn't seem like he could have sailed up through here. Maybe so. I don't know. That's a tight pinch to move all those people through. Seems more likely that he would come from the north then, and he came down here and he landed where we were out here, where it designated as Thermopylae here. So they were marching down and they wanted to get to Athens down here, and the Spartans are stopping them from going this way, down through the center part or around this coast here that we've been flying along. So we're heading south towards, back down towards Athens. Where's my heading here? So they stopped him quick. It sounds like. I mean, I don't know how far did they get? Because in the classic literature, or in the movies anyway, you see them like dumping them off cliffs, and these are the only cliffs we've seen, really. But these aren't. I don't know where these pinch points were at. If it was just that one, right where we spawned in, at the head of the mountain there. Still, that didn't seem like any cliffs. They could have, from that vantage point, seen any of this really. Could have all seen these battles that were taking place in here. Xerxes ended up bringing a fleet and a storm took him out. Herodotus does say like 1 million men or more. That's crazy. If the stories are true about the Spartans, that's a heck of a people right there. Crazy in a lot of the ways. It doesn't make sense. It seems very cruel in a lot of ways. And it seems very romanticized. But how else, I guess, do you arrive at a citizenry that is that powerful as a fighting force? I remember hearing a comment one day that if the Persians had won and taken over Greece, we would all be speaking Persian today. That if they would have been able to take all this, that their forces combined from here on out, going forward, would have been sufficient.
Atalanti or Atalantunisi or Talandonisi is a small, uninhabited island in the North Euboean Gulf, about 600 meters off the coast near the town Atalanti, Phthiatis, Greece. There are several small islets next to Atalanti Island, including the islet of Agio Nikolaos. Anciently, the island was known as Atalanta or Atalont. It was noted by
There was something there.
travelers and historians as a small island off Locris, in the Opuntian Gulf, said to have been torn asunder from the mainland by an earthquake. In the first year of the Peloponnesian War, this previously uninhabited island was fortified by the Athenians to prevent Locrian pirates attacking Evia. In the 6th year of the war, a part of the Athenian works was destroyed by the sea, with half the ships on the beach destroyed. Thucydides reports that following an earthquake, the sea receded from the shore before returning in a huge wave. Citing similar events at Paparethus and Orobii, he suggests that earthquakes and such sea events are linked. We now know that such tsunami are in fact caused by earthquakes. In 421 BCE, the peace of Nicias returned Atalanta to Sparta. Aside from Thucydides, the island is noted by Strabo, Diodorus, Pausanias, Livy, Pliny the Elder, Seneca, and Stephanus of Byzantium.
It must have been something special. And when you look down into the ground, you see markings of what look like structures in the ground. There's squares, but it's all tree covered now and empty. And again, it still boggles my mind every time we fly around. As we've been flying around Europe, here's a place that has been active since, again, all this stuff, the Persians' conquest back in the 400 BCs. And this is still what it looks like today. You know what we would have done? I mean, now, today, it would be like, whoa, want to crash into anything? Would look like any of our modern cities today. You'd think that there'd be super modern stuff all around here. Interesting terracing there. Yeah, I hear you. It's getting a little tight. Do a flight level change. Doesn't seem to want to be aggressive about it, so I'm doing a vertical speed change. I'm just going to manually the nose up. I mean, it still looks like ancient Greece. I mean, Athens, you see how the development around there, but it still doesn't look like New York City. What are we doing living here? I'm beginning to think we should all pack up and go to Greece. What are all those people coming here for? You people are crazy. All right, we pitched the nose up too high. It's a good thing they beat him there. Xerxes' men would have all been crying, trying to cover all these mountains. You parked us where? Why did you park us so far away? Though that whole story is told by Herodotus is hilarious. It's almost like a comedy. It is a comedy. Because the whole point is that, okay, the human kings, the story goes, the human kings need to follow what heaven wants. You're not, I mean, you're a king, and that's great, but, you know, you work for higher powers, right? And they said Persian kings like Darius and Xerxes were at that point so far removed from listening to the words from heaven, as I understand it. You know, they became haughty. I need to listen to what not getting messages from the higher ups. But something like that, the gods did not want the Persians to go to war with the Greeks, and that's why they made it painful. So when Xerxes comes along, he says, I'm going to go to war with the Greeks. And I guess all of his people were happy. And then the God's messenger showed up and he told him something like, we thought we told you we didn't want you to go to war with Greece. He's like, but I already told all my people that we're going to war. Or no, he had changed his mind. That's it. Told him there was going to be war, and then they told him that there wasn't going to be war. Somehow or another, the God comes down and tells him, well, now you're going to go to war. So go back out there and tell him now you've changed your mind again and you're going to war. Well, I don't want to go to war now. Well, too bad. You're a nobody, and we're going to teach you a lesson that you're a nobody, and you're going to do what we say because we're the ones that are in charge. Do you understand? And what we're about to teach you is the penalty for thinking yourself more than you are. And they said, yeah, take all your men, go. Or I'm going to come into your tent tomorrow night with a red hot poker and poke your eyeballs out. So, yeah. So Xerxes then had to get all these people together and go to war, and every step along the way, like they talked about him crossing the Hellespont, right? So I understand the Hellespont, that was pretty loaded, and they had a major catastrophe when he was moving troops across it, and lost a whole bunch of men there. Then he loses that fleet from back where we were over at Thermopylae that was coming in. And then the Greeks just annihilate all of his people. And if I have that right, that's what Herodotus says, that you fail to be good kings. The Bible does that a lot too. He's like, I'm going to throw you into slavery for a while because, you get to the point where you don't believe I exist anymore, and you guys just decide to do what you want to do. And so here comes the punishment. And it's going to last for, and that's basically people are like, that's a cruel God, but that's what your parents do. It's different in a way that, you're still getting your butt spanked and then some time out. So for deity-like beings, it seems an equivalent. All right. Yeah, Xerxes would have had a hell of a time. It would make sense if they were fighting along stuff like that down there, still trying to come through, and they were knocking them off into the waters. They make it so amazing in film. The 300 is amazing. I really enjoy that so much. And cut through here. Oh, yeah. I wish a buddy of mine was still around on this planet with us. I'm sure he's already gone there. He was such a history fan, and just his mind for remembering everything. Some people find that boring. I find it fascinating. You can talk to me all night long about history. And that wasn't just history. He was, he memorized everything like Tolkien. He knew like the entire histories of Tolkien. Like, well, tell me about this cat. And I didn't understand this. What was this all about? He just knew everything about everything. He was a real amazing person. I wonder what he would have, I would have loved to have hung out with him and done stuff like this. Hey, let's go to Thermopylae. And instead of using Wikipedia, we could have put him on the microphone, giving us the stories about how all this took place. Plus, he knew all the little cool side stories and other quippy things that were said. Like Paul Harvey with that. And the rest of the story. He built wonderful little models of triremes and nice paint jobs on them. Yeah, it's still blown away. I mean, I guess I'm just going to keep repeating that over and over. I can't believe this stuff here has been here since, the ancient times, and it's still not overpopulated and every inch covered with something. And that there isn't, a Bass Pro Shop on every outlet there. And wow. Okay, let's turn south. Well, southeast. The only thing on the audio tour in the area is just off to our starboard side. Thebes.
Thebes is a city in Boeotia, central Greece. It played an important role in Greek myths, as the site of the stories of Cadmus, Oedipus, Dionysus, Heracles, and others. Archaeological excavations in and around Thebes have revealed a Mycenaean settlement and clay tablets written in the Linear B script, indicating the importance of the site in the Bronze Age. Thebes was the largest city of the ancient region of Boeotia and was the leader of the Boeotian Confederacy. It was a major rival of ancient Athens, and sided with the Persians during the 480 BC invasion under Xerxes. Theban forces under the command of Epaminondas ended the power of Sparta at the Battle of Lectra in 371 BC. The sacred band of Thebes famously fell at the Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BC against Philip II and Alexander the Great. Prior to its destruction by Alexander in 335 BC, Thebes was a major force in Greek history and was the most dominant city-state at the time of the Macedonian conquest of Greece. During the Byzantine period, the city was famous for its silks. The modern city contains an archaeological museum, the remains of the Cadmea, and scattered ancient remains. Modern Thebes is the largest town of the regional unit of Boeotia.
Now that's interesting. There's a couple of things. Well, one, I caught that, yeah, it was a Macedonian conquest that allowed them to secure rulership of Greece. That this place still looks as unmodern blows my mind. And then it was known for its silks. Now, I thought silks were strictly an Oriental thing, and that's what made them so incredibly valuable. And that all they would send out here were unrefined silks. So the quality was never supposed to be better than what was in the Orient? Question mark, something like that.
Thebes is a city in Boeotia, central Greece.
It's playing again.
Played an important role in Greek myths as the site of the stories of Cadmus, Oedipus.
Hercules, I thought caught that in there. The home of Hercules, huh? Crazy. We say Dionysus and Oedipus. Think about History of the World. The movie, the Mel Brooks movie, and when he runs into Oedipus. Hilarious. I think we're gonna have a tough time getting over those mountains unless we cut through there. Maybe not that tough, but let's see. Speed. If we make it. Yeah, man, I wonder what a plot of land, just, 1 acre in a little stone place out here costs. Oh, I've been neglecting chat. Alec Rebellin subscribed. Will I go to Rhodes? How are you? I'm so sorry. I wasn't paying attention to chat. The island of Rhodes, or Rhodes, was there a Rhodes, Greece? I only recall the island of Rhodes. See. Yeah, Rhodes is the island of Rhodes. You can alt hold. I don't know if you're still there, Alec. Are you still here? Now we're going to hit a turbine. I think we're clear. Close. There's so few people here. That's all the wind turbines they need up here. All right, Alec wanted me to go to roads. Now, I don't mind. I don't mind doing that at all. Let's go back to the main menu. And we'll come back. We'll respawn at Sparta. Three o'clock. Okay. Island of Rhodes is down here. This is the island itself. Most famously known in time in antiquity for the Colossus at Rhodes, which in history was reported as a giant man that stood out here hundreds of feet in the air. And it had a lighthouse. Kind of like the Statue of Liberty, but with his arm up in the air, and it was a lighthouse from the torch. You know, that's the way certain people describe it. Others have said it was just a giant tower. Made of entirely of bronze. At one point, I think I've read. You know us, man. We can tear something down and repurpose it and take all the bronze for weapons. Probably what they ended up doing. Who knows if it was rusting? Who knows? We just don't know. Okay, so out here, at least reported to be, out here on this tip of Rhodes, the location of the Colossus. Possibly the foundation for this entire structure. I mean, if you had something going hundreds of feet in the air, I don't know. Who knows? But this whole stronghold, maybe that's all that was, just the stronghold. But you'd think you'd have to have some major structural points for the footings. But over time, you know, again, stripping things down and imagine a foot on each one of those. I don't know if there are any audio stuff for Rhodes. Let's see here. Oh. One a moment. Hello.
Hello, you streaming?
Yep.
Okay, I'll call when I leave.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. What do we have here? Okay, they're saying the Colossus was out on this tip.
The Colossus of Rhodes was a statue of the Greek sun god Helios, erected in the city of Rhodes, on the Greek island of the same name, by Ceres of Lindos in 280 BC. One of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, it was constructed to celebrate its successful defense against Demetrius Poliorcetes, who had besieged it for a year with a large army and navy. According to most contemporary descriptions, the Colossus stood approximately 70 cubits, or 33 meters high, approximately the height of the modern Statue of Liberty from feet to crown, making it the tallest statue in the ancient world. It collapsed during the earthquake of 226 BC, although parts of it were preserved. In accordance with a certain oracle, the Rhodians did not build it again. John Malalas wrote that Hadrian in his reign re-erected the Colossus, but he was wrong. According to Suda, the Rhodians were called Colossians because they erected the statue on the island. Since 2008, a series of as yet unrealized proposals to build a new Colossus at Rhodes Harbour have been announced, although the actual location of the original monument remains in dispute.
Wow, that would be something. That would be something amazing to rebuild the Colossus. Wow. So she said an earthquake took it out. That I did not know. Okay. On the round, pause, do a heading change. And slow down a little bit.
The Acropolis of Rhodes is an acropolis dating from the classical Greek period located approximately 3 kilometers from the center of the city of Rhodes. The partially reconstructed part of the site consists of the Temple of Apollo, which is a stadium and a small theatre. It is included in a large park, Monty Smith, named for English Napoleonic Admiral William Sidney Smith. The original excavation was carried on by the Italian School of Archaeology at Athens from 1912 to 1945. Following World War II, the Greek Archaeological Service took over excavation and restoration of the ruins. This included extensive reconstruction of the temple Pythian Apollo, which was extensively damaged by bombing and artillery installed there during the war. Excavation began in 1946 and continues today in the Acropolis Archaeological Park, which covers 12,500 square meters and is protected from any new construction. The Acropolis is situated on the highest part of the city. The monuments were built on stepped terraces, with substantial retaining walls. The Temple of Athena Polias and Zeus Peleus. Located at the northern extreme of the Acropolis in an east-west orientation, this stately temple was dominated by Doric columned porticos on all sides and originally housed the written treaties the Rhodians held with other states. The temple was bounded by a stoa to the east. The Temple of Pythian Apollo. Smaller than the Temple of Athena Polias and Zeus Peleus, this structure boasts a similar east-west orientation but is located on the southern end, just west of a large rectangular terrace. Part of the northeast side of this porous peripteral temple has been restored. The Nymphaeums. Just southeast of the Temple of Athena Polias and Zeus Peleus are four subterranean structures cut into the rock, featuring entrance steps, passages, a large opening in the central roof, along with water cisterns, foliage and interior niches for statuettes. These caves were used for worship and recreational purposes. The Odeon. This small marble Odeon held approximately 800 spectators. Situated northwest of the stadium, it is believed to have been used for musical performances and rhetoric lessons of prominent Rhodians. The Stoa Building. The impressive facade was visible from even the harbor. Today just one foundation wall remains. The Artemision. The Artemis cult's place of worship is situated on the northeast side of the hill, amidst the ruins of other structures of similar function. The Stadium. Located on the southeast side of the hill, the 210-meter north-south stadium was initially restored by the Italians. Its surviving features include the Sphendon, prodries, and some of the spectator seating. The starting apparatus used in the athletic events has also been preserved. Athletic events of the Halion Games, honoring Helios, were held here.
Good hiccups. So if you're just tuning in, we're playing over the island of Rhodes, from the area where the Colossus was, over the length of it, the width of it. Wonder what they were building here or doing here. Okay, like I said, I wanted to get us to Sparta. And I also want to see if I can locate the Temple of Delphi, the Oracle. Temple of Apollo at Delphi. No. Give me a tourist site to book travels. All right. Hopefully we don't crash this time. The computer crashed trying to do this last time. Under tools, we can use the teleport window. Try to clear everything out. Post, and hopefully this is where we froze last time. That worked.
The Temple of Athena Pronaia was a temple at the ancient site of Delphi, in the sanctuary of Athena Pronaia, a group of buildings comprising temples and treasuries as well as the famous Thelos of Delphi. It was actually built thrice. The earlier temples, referred to as A and B, were built in the 7th and 6th centuries BC respectively and were made of porous stone. A third temple was built of limestone in the 4th century BC, although it is not certain that it actually was dedicated to Athena this time. The sanctuary of Athena Pronaia was the first one met by the visitor who came to Delphi on foot from the Eastern Road, hence its name. Excavations have proved that at this spot lay an older cult site, possibly dedicated to Gaia. Most of the Mycenaean figurines exhibited in the Delphi Archaeological Museum, including the notable seated figure on a tripod, were discovered here, and it has been suggested that they were ex-votos. The first temple dedicated to Athena was constructed in the 7th century BC. It was probably the earliest Doric temple, of which 12 columns have been preserved, along with the foundations and the crepidoma and stylobate. In the first half of the 6th century BC, this temple was destroyed, possibly by an earthquake. After the destruction of Temple A, another temple, now called Temple B, was erected on the same spot. The date of its construction is estimated at circa 510 BC, and it probably formed part of the building program of the Alcmaeonids for the restoration of the monuments of Delphi. The temple was excavated towards the end of the Grand Fouille. 15 columns were still standing in 1905, when a rock fall destroyed them. Scholars think that perhaps this second temple was never actually destroyed or abandoned but continued to function after the construction of the third temple. The marble fragments of a head of Athena discovered and displayed now at the museum are attributed to the cult statue of Athena, which would have been situated in the cellar of the temple. The third temple, built of limestone in the 4th century BC, was possibly not dedicated to Athena but rather to Artemis. Scholars are led to this supposition by the testimony of Pausanias, who mentions that one of the temples in the sanctuary of Pronaia was dedicated to Artemis. However, the traditional view remains in favor of Athena. The date of its construction is approximated to 360 BC, and it was located at the west of the terrace supporting the entire complex of the Marmaria. Although only the foundations are extant, its plan has been fully restored. It was based on a crepidoma consisting of 3 levels and had a prostyle in antes consisting of 6 columns on the facade. The temple could not have functioned to a later date than the 4th or 5th century, when all pagan shrines were closed during the persecution of pagans in the late Roman Empire.
I don't want to believe it. Like Christians, it was the Christians that destroyed the temple, all this temple stuff. And I want to say that that's not the MO of the Christians, but I don't know. By the way, this was the site. So everybody from all over the world would come here to seek the advice. Here with the Eastern Road. That is crazy, these roads down there. And again, you don't see modern highways. See, where on the map are we? Okay, we're on the opposite coast of, basically, across from where Thermopylae was, almost directly south. Is that it? Maybe I'm looking at my spot. I think I am. There. Yeah, it's hard to make out my icon. Like hidden behind those two. Well, now I know mentally, again, where it's at. I would have never, if you would have said, hey, grab the map, grab a globe, and put your finger down where the Temple of Delphi, Temple of Apollo is, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. But now we know. All right, what do we have over here?
Hosios Lucas is a historic walled monastery situated near the town of Distamo, in Boeotia, Greece. It is one of the most important monuments of Middle Byzantine architecture and art, and has been listed on UNESCO's World Heritage Sites, along with the monasteries of Neomone and Daphne. The monastery of Hosios Lucas is situated at a scenic site on the slopes of Mount Helicon. It was founded in the early 10th century AD by the hermit, Venerable Luke of Styris, whose relics are kept in the monastery to this day. The monastery is named after him, Hosios Lucas being the Greek translation of Venerable Luke. Saint Luke, not to be confused with the evangelist author of the Gospel of Saint Luke, was a hermit who died on 7th of February 953. He is famous for having predicted the conquest of Crete by Emperor Romanos. It was unclear if he was referring to Romanos I, the emperor at the time. However, the island was actually reconquered by Nicephorus Phocos under Romanos II. It is believed that it was during the latter's reign between 959 and 963 that the monastery's Church of the Panagia was constructed. The main shrine of the monastery is the tomb of Saint Luke, originally situated in the vault, but later placed at the juncture of the two churches. The monastery derived its wealth from the fact that the relics of Saint Luke were said to have exuded myron, a sort of perfumed oil which produced healing miracles. Pilgrims hoping for miraculous help were encouraged to sleep by the side of the tomb in order to be healed by incubation. The mosaics around the tomb represent not only Saint Luke himself, but also Hegumen Philotheos offering a likeness of the newly built church to the saint. Hosios Lucas is the largest of three monasteries surviving from the Middle Byzantine period in Greece. It differs from the Daphnian and Neomone in that it is dedicated to a single military saint. St. Luke's prophecy about the reconquest of Crete is commemorated by the image of Joshua on the exterior wall of the Panagia Church. Joshua was considered a model warrior of the faith, whose help was especially effective in the wars waged against the Arabs. The Catholicon contains the best-preserved complex of mosaics from the period of the Macedonian Renaissance. However, the complex is not complete. The original image of Christ Pantocrator inside the dome is missing, as are the figures of archangels normally placed between the upper windows. There is evidence that the monastery was reputed all over Byzantium for its lavish decoration, liberally applied to all surfaces. Apart from revetment, carving, gold and silver plate, murals, and mosaics, the interior featured a choice assortment of icons, chandeliers, silk curtains, and altar cloths. Only a fraction of these items are still in situ, most notably colored marble facings and window grilles. Sparta was a prominent city-state in ancient Greece. In antiquity, the city-state was known as Lacedaemon, while the name Sparta referred to its main settlement on the banks of the Eurotas River in Laconia, in southeastern Peloponnese. Around 650 BCE, it rose to become the dominant military land power in ancient Greece. Given its military preeminence, Sparta was recognized as the leading force of the unified Greek military during the Greco-Persian Wars, in rivalry with the rising naval power of Athens. Sparta was the principal enemy of Athens during the Peloponnesian War, from which it emerged victorious. The decisive Battle of Lectra in 371 BCE ended the Spartan hegemony, although the city-state maintained its political independence until the Roman conquest of Greece in 146 BCE. After the division of the Roman Empire, Sparta underwent a long period of decline, especially in the Middle Ages, when many of its citizens moved to Mistras. Modern Sparta is the capital of the southern Greek region of Laconia and a center for processing citrus and olives. Sparta was unique in ancient Greece for its social system and constitution, which was supposedly introduced by the semi-mythical legislator Lycurgus. His laws configured the Spartan society to maximize military proficiency at all costs, focusing all social institutions on military training and physical development. The inhabitants of Sparta were stratified as Spartiates, Mothaches, Perioikoi, and Helots. Spartiates underwent the rigorous agoge training and education regimen, and Spartan phalanx brigades were widely considered to be among the best in battle. Spartan women also enjoyed considerably more rights and equality with men than elsewhere in classical antiquity. Sparta was frequently a subject of fascination in its own day, as well as in Western culture following the revival of classical learning. The admiration of Sparta is known as laconism or laconophilia. Bertrand Russell wrote, "Sparta had a double effect on Greek thought, through the reality, and through the myth. The reality enabled the Spartans to defeat Athens in war, the myth influenced Plato's political theory, and that of countless subsequent writers. Ideals that it favors had a great part in framing the doctrines of Rousseau, Nietzsche, and National Socialism."
That's interesting that they describe it as a socialist. Or, whoever socialists have developed their thoughts from it. If they brought Nietzsche up, Nietzsche's everywhere. Also, still blown away. This is the location of ancient Sparta, and this is still what it looks like within the last 10 years. How? I'm moving, man. If I could afford it. I mean, you could get a house in Sparta. Not like they're running out of space. Let's go over there. Hey, I heard you guys sell olives. Let me get in on that. Let me help you press some olives and make some olive oil and live in ancient Sparta. You guys make armor on the weekends at all? Swords and stuff? I'd be down with that. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, it's like, what do you guys do around here for fun? We knock down trees. Cool. Make long, pointy things. Down. All right, what else? Let's see. What else do we have down here? Mountains, mountains, mountains. What is this over here? Castle. Medieval fortification.
Pigus or Pyrgos or Pigi or Pigoi was the most southerly town of Triphylia in ancient Elis, at the mouth of the river Neda, upon the Messenian frontier, and hence described by Stephanus of Byzantium as a Messenian town. It is one of the 6 cities founded by the Minyans in the territory of the Corcones. Herodotus comments that, in his time, most of the cities founded by the Minyans were ravaged by the Hellenes. It is supposed that this happened around 460 BCE, after the Third Messenian War. Polybius reports that it was among the towns of Triphylia that decided to ally with Philip V of Macedon in the Social War, after he took Samicum. Its site is located at Agio Elias near modern Pyrgos, Elis, although other locations have been proposed.
All right, we're heading that way. But I don't know if we have enough time to get over that. Possibly cut through there. See what else is over here.
Leprium or Leprion, alternately named Leprius or Leprios, was an ancient Greek city-state in Tryphalia, a district of Elis. It was located 40 stadia away from the sea at the west end of Mount Minty and built around 2 citadels. Surrounded by an abundance of natural resources, Leprium became an important city in the Classical and Hellenistic ages, where it became the capital of the Tryphalia region. The city has also been identified by some scholars as the mythical city of Epi, a city described by Homer in the Iliad but never discovered. The ruins of ancient Leprium have been excavated near the present village Leprio.
Keeps moving the screen down. Trying to see if there's anything that jumps out as, oh, this is a place I've heard of. Most of these places around Greece now I have not heard of. I don't know why it's doing that. When I click on something, it moves the screen. Well, I think that's about all we're going to get today. Doing Greece. That's some neat terracing down there. That's about all we can do today. I can't have the show run long like yesterday. That was a tragedy, actually. And I've got to go ahead and put fertilizer on the yard. So let me say thank you. Let me go ahead and stop there. Go to my closing screen. Thank you to Alec Rebelin for signing up. I'm sorry I missed you in the chat room. I did go over and do roads, though, for you. Not sure what we're going to do tomorrow. I have no idea yet. So play it by ear, or try to get some jobs from here. And yeah, I thought maybe go to Rome. I haven't done Rome. Yeah, that's probably it. Doing the Rome thing. All right, today's song of the day is "There's Something Wrong" by BRADSUCKS, and I'll say goodbye and play this out, right? Please like and subscribe. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Really, really like this tune.
It seems a little strange, but I just can't explain why I'm tearing out a page and then I'm sending it out over the ocean. And I've been feeling down lately.
Ever since I met the baby,
People say I'm acting
crazy.
They say that I'm more emotional. Yeah, there's something wrong in my
Oh no, wrong screen. What? Ah. long ago.
Now that you know, just the noises in my throat. Say I'll take however
Long
it takes me.
I can't understand why I need to be your man.